The phone rang at 2 in the morning, and Lily knew immediately that something was wrong. Nobody calls with good news at that hour. Her hand shook as she reached for it, her heart already racing before she even heard the words. "Is this Lily Parker?" a calm voice asked. "I'm calling from Metro General Hospital. There's been an accident." The next few hours felt like walking through fog. Lily remembers getting dressed, calling a taxi, and somehow making it to the hospital, but she couldn't recall any details. Everything blurred together until she stood in that too bright corridor, staring at a doctor who kept talking about impact and injuries and things that didn't make sense. Her sister Claire was gone. Just like that. The vibrant, beautiful woman who had called her just yesterday to talk about wedding flowers was now a name on a chart. And Christopher Bennett, Claire's fiancé, the millionaire everyone talked about, was lying in a coma 3 doors down. Lily sat in the waiting room, unable to cry, unable to think. She'd always been the quiet sister, the one who worked 2 jobs to help their mother pay bills while Claire dated successful men and posted perfect photos online. But Lily had never been jealous. She loved Claire, and now Claire was gone, and Lily didn't know how to exist in a world without her sister's laugh, her phone calls, her chaos. "Miss Parker?" A woman in an expensive black suit approached her. Everything about her screamed money, from her pearl earrings to her designer handbag. "I'm Helen Bennett, Christopher's mother. I'm so deeply sorry about your sister." Lily nodded, not trusting herself to speak. "Could we talk somewhere private?" Helen asked gently. "There's something urgent we need to discuss." They ended up in a small conference room. Helen sat across from Lily, and another man joined them, introducing himself as the family lawyer. Lily felt like she was watching a movie about someone else's life. "Miss Parker, what I'm about to tell you will sound insane," Helen began, "but I need you to hear me out completely before you say anything." The lawyer opened a folder and pulled out documents. Christopher's grandfather passed away 2 years ago. He left everything to Christopher, but there was a condition in the will, a very specific condition. Lily tried to focus on his words through her grief. "Christopher must be married before his 35th birthday, or the entire inheritance passes to his uncle Daniel," the lawyer continued. "The company, the properties, everything." His grandfather believed marriage would settle Christopher down and prove he was responsible enough to carry on the family legacy. "Okay," Lily said quietly. Not understanding why they were telling her this, Helen leaned forward. "Christopher's birthday is in 3 weeks. He and Claire were supposed to get married next month. But now," her voice cracked, "now Claire is gone and my son is in a coma, and Daniel is already circling like a vulture." The lawyer showed Lily another document. "Daniel Bennett has a history of financial mismanagement. If he takes control, he'll destroy everything Christopher's grandfather built. Hundreds of employees will lose their jobs. Charitable foundations will close. And Christopher, if he wakes up, will have nothing." "I still don't understand why you're telling me this," Lily said, though a cold feeling was starting to spread through her chest. Helen took a deep breath. "We need someone to marry Christopher, now, while he's in the hospital, to protect his inheritance until he wakes up." The room fell silent. Lily stared at them, waiting for the punchline, but their faces remained serious. "You want me to marry a man in a coma?" Lily said slowly. "A man I've never even met." "I know how it sounds," Helen said quickly. "But you're Claire's sister. The family knows you. It would make sense to everyone that Christopher might have turned to you in his grief. And legally it would hold up." "This is insane," Lily stood up. "I just lost my sister. I can't even think about something like this." The lawyer spoke up. "We understand this is overwhelming, but consider this. Christopher is a good man. He truly loved your sister. He doesn't deserve to lose everything because of a tragic accident. And you don't deserve to struggle anymore," Helen added softly. She pulled out another paper. "We're prepared to pay off your mother's medical bills, all of them, and provide a monthly allowance for your family. When Christopher wakes up and chooses to divorce you, you'll receive a settlement that will secure your future." Lily felt sick. "You're trying to buy me." "We're trying to save my son's life's work," Helen said, and for the first time Lily saw real fear in her eyes. "And yes, we're offering you a way out of the financial stress that's been crushing you. Claire told Christopher about your mother's illness, about your student loans, about how hard you work. Let us help you while you help us." Lily walked to the window, looking out at the parking lot below. She thought about her mother getting weaker every month because she couldn't afford the treatment she needed. She thought about Claire, who would never walk down an aisle or have the future she'd planned. She thought about how tired she was, working 2 jobs and still falling behind on bills. How would this even work? She heard herself ask. The lawyer stood beside her. There's a provision for emergency marriages in cases like this. We have a judge who can perform the ceremony in the hospital. Christopher's doctor will sign off on his condition. Everything will be legal and binding. And when he wakes up? Lily asked quietly. That's up to both of you, Helen said. We're not forcing you to stay married forever. We're asking you to help us protect everything until Christopher can make his own decisions. Lily closed her eyes. She knew what Claire would say. Claire would tell her to be practical, to think about their mother, to take the opportunity. Claire had always been the realistic one despite her dreams of romance. I need to think about it, Lily whispered. We have 3 days, the lawyer said. After that, Daniel will file paperwork claiming Christopher is incapacitated and unable to manage his affairs. He'll petition the court for control. Helen touched Lily's arm gently. Come meet Christopher first. Sit with him. See if you can do this before you decide. They walked down the corridor together, and Helen pushed open the door to a private room. Medical equipment beeped steadily. And there in the bed lay Christopher Bennett. He looked younger than Lily expected. Peaceful, dark hair, strong features, with bandages on his head and arms. Claire had shown her pictures, but seeing him in person was different. This was a real person, not just some rich man from the society pages. He's a good son, Helen said softly, standing beside Lily. He visits me every Sunday. He remembers his employees' children's names. He volunteers at the youth center his grandfather founded. Christopher isn't perfect, but he doesn't deserve to lose everything because fate was cruel. Lily looked at the stranger who might become her husband. She thought about the impossibility of it all. She thought about Claire's funeral to plan, her mother's medication running out, the electric bill that was overdue. If I do this, Lily said slowly, I need one promise. When he wakes up, you tell him the truth immediately. No games, no delays. He deserves to know what happened and why. Helen nodded. I promise. Lily took a deep breath. She didn't believe in fate or destiny. She didn't believe this was some romantic story. But she believed in survival, and she believed that sometimes you had to make impossible choices. Okay, she whispered. I'll do it. She didn't know it then, but those 2 words would change everything. In 3 days, she would stand in this hospital room in a simple dress, holding the hand of an unconscious man, and say vows that felt like both a lie and a lifeline. She would become Mrs. Bennett, the wife of a millionaire she'd never spoken to, stepping into her dead sister's shoes. And nothing would ever be the same again. The ceremony lasted 7 minutes. Lily wore a simple cream dress that Helen had bought for her, and she held Christopher's limp hand while a judge read words that should have meant something but felt hollow. When it was time for the rings, Helen slipped Claire's engagement ring onto Lily's finger. It felt wrong. Everything felt wrong, but it was done. Lily Parker was now Lily Bennett, wife to a man who didn't even know she existed. The Bennett mansion felt like a museum. Everything was expensive, elegant, and cold. Helen showed Lily to what she called the master suite, a bedroom bigger than Lily's entire apartment. Christopher's things were everywhere. His watch on the nightstand, his jacket on the chair, a book face down on the table as if he'd just stepped out for a moment. You don't have to sleep in here if it's uncomfortable, Helen said gently. There are guest rooms. But Lily shook her head. If she was going to do this, she needed to do it properly. Besides, it felt less dishonest somehow, living among his things rather than hiding away. The first week was the hardest. Lily would wake up confused, forgetting where she was, and then remember everything. Claire's funeral had been small and devastating. Lily had stood at the grave wearing black and a wedding ring, feeling like her life had split into before and after. Every morning she went to the hospital. She'd sit in the chair beside Christopher's bed and talk to him about Claire. She told him stories about their childhood, about Claire's terrible cooking and her beautiful singing voice, about the time Claire tried to dye her own hair and turned it orange, about how Claire had loved him, had been so excited about their wedding. I'm sorry I'm not her, Lily whispered one afternoon. I'm sorry you're stuck with me instead. The doctor said talking to coma patients could help, so Lily kept going. It was easier than being in that big empty house anyway. But the peace didn't last long. Daniel Bennett filed a lawsuit challenging the marriage on the second week. He claimed it was fraud, that Lily had taken advantage of a family tragedy to steal Christopher's fortune. His lawyers were loud and aggressive, and suddenly Lily found herself being called to meetings with the Bennett family attorneys. "He's going to drag this through every court possible," the lawyer explained. "He's hired investigators to look into your background, trying to prove you planned this." Lily felt sick. "But I didn't. Your family came to me. We know that, and we'll prove it. But it's going to get ugly." It did. Reporters started showing up at the hospital. Headlines called her a gold digger, a scam artist. People who'd never met her had opinions about her character. Lily stopped reading the news. The worst part was Christopher's business partner and best friend, a man named Ryan Park. He ran the company's finances and had known Christopher since college. The first time they met, his eyes were ice cold. "I don't know what game you're playing," Ryan said, "but I'm watching you." Christopher trusted too easily. "That's not a mistake I make." "I'm not playing any game," Lily said quietly. "Right. You just happened to marry a coma patient you'd never met." Very convenient. Lily couldn't even argue. From the outside, it looked exactly like what he thought it was. Ryan insisted she attend board meetings as Christopher's representative. "If you're really his wife, act like it," he said coldly. "Or admit this is all fake and let Daniel take over." So Lily found herself sitting in conference rooms, surrounded by people in expensive suits discussing things she barely understood. She took notes frantically, trying to learn about the company Christopher had built. The factories, the employees, the deals in progress. She started reading everything she could about the business. Late at night in Christopher's study, she'd go through files and reports trying to understand what he cared about. And that's when she found the journals. They were in a locked drawer, but Helen had given Lily all the keys. At first, Lily felt like a thief reading them. These were Christopher's private thoughts. But she needed to understand him, needed to know the man she was supposed to be protecting. The journals revealed someone completely different from the playboy the media portrayed. Christopher wrote about his fears of failing his grandfather's legacy, about the pressure of expectations, about wanting to make a difference but not knowing if he was doing enough. He wrote about the youth center he funded, about kids he mentored, about dreams of expanding programs to help more families, and he wrote about Claire. Pages and pages about how beautiful she was, how confident, how she lit up every room. But as Lily read deeper, she noticed something strange. He never wrote about conversations with Claire, about her thoughts or dreams. Just about how she looked, how other men envied him, how perfect she seemed. It felt like he loved the idea of Claire more than he knew the real Claire. Lily closed the journal, feeling guilty for the thought. Claire was gone. It didn't matter anymore, but the reading helped. When Ryan challenged her in meetings, she could reference Christopher's plans and priorities. She knew what he would have wanted because she'd read his own words. Slowly, grudgingly, Ryan started to respect her preparation even if he still didn't trust her. Christopher's younger sister, Amber, was different. She was 19, home from college, and the only person who seemed to see Lily as human. "Ryan's just protective," Amber said one day, sitting with Lily in the hospital room. "He and Christopher were roommates in college. He knows my brother isn't perfect, but he's loyal. He thinks I'm a criminal," Lily said. "He thinks everyone's a criminal until proven otherwise. It's why he's good with money." Amber smiled. "But I've been watching you. You come here every single day. You sit with Christopher for hours. You talk to him like he matters. Gold diggers don't do that." Lily felt tears sting her eyes. "I just want to do right by your family. By Claire's memory." "I know," Amber squeezed her hand. "And for what it's worth, I'm glad you're here. Mom's less scared. The company's stable. You're helping, even if Ryan won't admit it." As weeks passed, Lily fell into a routine. Hospital visits in the morning, business meetings in the afternoon, studying reports at night. She learned the names of Christopher's employees, started understanding the projects he'd been passionate about. She fought Daniel's lawyers, endured investigations that found nothing because there was nothing to find. And every evening she sat beside Christopher and talked. But somewhere around week 6, she stopped just talking about Claire. She started telling him about herself. "I wanted to be a teacher," she told his sleeping form one night. "Before Mom got sick and college became impossible. I love kids. I love that moment when something clicks for them. when they finally understand something they've been struggling with. She told him about growing up poor, about working at a grocery store at 15 to help with bills, about Claire's big dreams and how proud Lily had been when Claire started dating successful men, even though it meant they saw each other less. Claire was always the beautiful one, the confident one, Lily whispered. I was just the quiet sister who worked too much. But I didn't mind. I just wanted her to be happy. Talking to Christopher became the easiest part of her day. He couldn't judge her, couldn't tell her she wasn't good enough. She could be honest in a way she couldn't be with anyone else. 2 months after the accident, Lily was reading to Christopher from a book about architecture. She'd learned from his journals that he loved building design. She was in the middle of a sentence when she felt it. His hand moved. Just a tiny twitch of his fingers against hers. But it was movement. Real, actual movement. Lily's heart stopped. Christopher, she whispered. Nothing else happened, but she pressed the call button for the nurse. When the doctor came, he examined Christopher carefully. It's a good sign, he said. Involuntary movements can indicate the brain is becoming more active. It doesn't mean he'll wake up tomorrow, but it's progress. Lily called Helen immediately, her voice shaking with hope. That night, she sat beside Christopher's bed holding his hand, willing him to move again. Come back, she whispered. Your family needs you. The company needs you. And honestly, I could really use someone to help me understand what Ryan's talking about in those finance meetings. His fingers twitched again, just slightly. And for the first time since the accident, Lily felt something that might have been hope. She didn't know it yet, but Christopher's mind was already fighting its way back to consciousness. And when he woke up, everything would change again. But for tonight, Lily sat in the quiet hospital room, holding the hand of the stranger who was legally her husband, and let herself believe that maybe, just maybe, everything would work out somehow. The call came at 6 a.m. Christopher was awake. Lily threw on clothes and rushed to the hospital, her heart pounding so hard she thought it might break through her chest. Helen was already there, tears streaming down her face as she held her son's hand. Christopher looked weak and confused, his eyes scanning the room like he was trying to piece together a puzzle. When Lily walked in, his gaze landed on her. Hey, he said, his voice rough from weeks of not being used. You came, Lily froze. She looked at Helen, panic rising in her throat. But Helen gave a tiny shake of her head, a warning in her eyes. Of course I came, Lily said softly, moving closer to the bed. Christopher tried to smile, but exhaustion pulled at his features. I feel like I got hit by a truck. What happened? The doctor stepped in smoothly. You were in a car accident, Mr. Bennett. You've been unconscious for over 2 months. Your brain needs time to process everything, so don't push yourself too hard. 2 months? Christopher looked shocked. He glanced around the room again, his brow furrowed. I remember being in the car. We were driving somewhere. He pressed his hand to his forehead. Everything's fuzzy. That's normal with traumatic brain injuries, the doctor said. Your memory will likely come back in pieces. Some things might be clear, others might take time. The important thing is not to force it or stress yourself. Over the next few days, Lily learned the full extent of Christopher's condition. He remembered his business, his family, and his grandfather. He knew he'd been engaged. But his memories of Claire were fragmented and confused. He didn't seem to notice that Lily looked nothing like the woman he'd planned to marry. His brain was filling in gaps, assuming the woman at his bedside was who she said she was. The doctor pulled Helen and Lily aside on the 3rd day. His memory is still scrambled. Right now he's operating on a mix of real memories and assumptions. If you tell him about the accident, about Claire's death, about the marriage all at once, the shock could cause a serious medical setback. We could lose the progress he's made. So what do? Helen asked. Give him time. Let him stabilize physically and mentally. Once he's stronger, once his memories are more complete, then we can address the truth. Lily felt the weight of the deception crushing her chest. So I just keep lying to him? You're protecting him, Helen said firmly. Just for a little while longer. But as Christopher grew stronger, the lie grew heavier. He was nothing like Lily expected. The newspapers called him a playboy, a rich bachelor who dated models and threw expensive parties. But the man in the hospital room was gentle and thoughtful. He thanked the nurses by name. He worried about his employees and asked Helen to make sure everyone, was being taken care of while he was out, and he was kind to Lily in a way that made her heart ache. "I'm sorry, I can't remember more about us," he said one afternoon. "It's frustrating. I know we were planning the wedding, but the details are all jumbled up." "Don't worry about it," Lily said quickly. "Just focus on getting better." "Tell me something," he said, catching her hand. "Tell me about us. Maybe it'll help me remember." Lily's throat went dry. She thought about Claire, about the sister she'd lost. "You were always bringing me flowers," she said softly, remembering what Claire had told her. "You'd show up at random times with roses." Christopher smiled. "That sounds like something I'd do." He studied their joined hands. "Were we happy?" The question hit Lily like a punch. She thought about Christopher's journals, about how he'd written about Claire's beauty but never about real connection, about how Claire had loved the lifestyle but complained to Lily that Christopher worked too much. "Yes," she said, because what else could she say? As Christopher recovered, Ryan brought work to the hospital. Christopher needed to prove he was mentally competent to fight Daniel's lawsuit. At first, Christopher struggled with focus, but Lily helped him review documents and remember key details. "You've been handling things?" Christopher asked one day, looking through reports Lily had prepared. "Your mother and Ryan did most of it," Lily said. "I just tried to keep track of what was important to you." Christopher read through her notes, surprise crossing his face. "You looked into the scholarship program? That's not even a major part of the business." "You care about it," Lily said simply. "It's in your journals." "I mean, you'd mentioned it before." She caught herself too late. "My journals?" Christopher looked at her strangely. You used to tell me about things you wrote about," Lily improvised, her cheeks burning. He seemed to accept this, but something in his eyes suggested he was starting to notice things didn't quite add up. Daniel's lawyers kept pushing, demanding evaluations and hearings. Christopher had to sit through cognitive tests and medical examinations, all while still recovering. Lily sat with him through every appointment, feeding him information when he needed it, supporting him when the stress became too much. "I don't know what I'd do without you," Christopher said one evening. "You've been my anchor through all of this." Lily had to look away before he saw the tears in her eyes, because he wasn't talking to her. He was talking to someone he thought she was, someone who wasn't even alive anymore. But something strange was happening. The more time they spent together, the more Christopher seemed to see her. The real her, not the woman he thought he'd been engaged to. "You know what's weird?" he said one day. "Some of the things you say surprise me. Good surprises, but unexpected. Like you're showing me sides of yourself I didn't know existed." "People change," Lily said quietly. "Or maybe I just wasn't paying attention before," Christopher replied, something thoughtful in his expression. Amber visited often and she could see what was happening. One day she pulled Lily aside in the hallway. "He's falling for you," Amber said. "The real you, not whoever he thinks you are." "Don't," Lily said. "Don't make this harder than it already is. I'm just saying I've never seen my brother look at anyone the way he looks at you. He's actually present, actually listening. Whatever this is, it's real. But it couldn't be real. It was built on lies and grief and desperation." Lily reminded herself of this every time Christopher smiled at her, every time he reached for her hand, every time he shared his thoughts and fears with her. The worst part was that Lily was falling too. She loved the way Christopher talked about his dreams for the company. Not for profit, but for impact. She loved how he remembered small details about the nurses' lives, how he called his mother every evening to make sure she was okay. She loved his quiet determination and his vulnerability as he struggled to recover. This was the man Claire had been going to marry, but Lily wondered if Claire had ever really known him like this. In all her sister's excited phone calls about the wedding, about the engagement ring and the venue and the dress, Claire had rarely talked about Christopher himself. Just about the life he could give her. Christopher grew stronger every day. The doctors cleared him to go home, though he still needed rest and therapy. The day he was discharged, he stood in the hospital parking lot holding Lily's hand. "Thank you," he said, "for being here every single day. For fighting for me when I couldn't fight for myself." "You don't have to thank me," Lily whispered. "Yes, I do." He turned to face her fully. "I feel like I'm getting to know you all over again. And I like what I'm discovering." Lily's heart broke a little more, because soon he would know the truth. Soon he would remember everything and he would hate her for this deception. But for now, in this moment, She let herself hold his hand and pretend that this could somehow end in anything other than heartbreak. They drove to the Bennett mansion together, and Christopher looked at his home like he was seeing it for the first time. Helen had prepared a welcome dinner, and even Ryan showed up, his usual suspicion softened by obvious relief that Christopher was recovering. That night, Christopher stood in their bedroom looking uncertain. "I hope this isn't weird," he said, "but would you mind if we just talked for a while? I'm still trying to piece things together and being with you helps." So they sat up talking until past midnight. Christopher told her about his grandfather, about the pressure and expectations. And Lily, forgetting to be careful, told him about growing up poor, about her dreams of teaching, about things the real Claire would never have shared. Christopher listened to every word, and Lily could see him filing away the inconsistencies, the gaps in his memory that didn't quite match reality. She knew the truth was coming. She could feel it approaching like a storm. But tonight she let herself have this. One more night of pretending that she was someone's first choice, that she mattered to someone beyond being useful. One more night before everything fell apart. As Christopher finally drifted off to sleep, Lily lay awake staring at the ceiling, knowing that when his memory fully returned, she would lose not just her pretend marriage, but something far more dangerous. She was going to lose the man she'd fallen in love with, and there was nothing she could do to stop it. It happened on a Tuesday morning, 3 weeks after Christopher came home from the hospital. Lily was making coffee in the kitchen when she heard the crash from upstairs. She ran up to find Christopher standing in their bedroom, a photo frame shattered on the floor. His face was white, his hands shaking. "Christopher?" Lily moved toward him, but he stepped back. "Don't," he said, his voice strange and hollow. "Don't come near me. What's wrong? Are you feeling sick? Should I call the doctor?" "I remember," he said, and those 2 words made Lily's blood run cold. "I remember everything. The accident, Claire, all of it." The room seemed to tilt. Lily grabbed the door frame to steady herself. Christopher picked up the broken photo from the floor. It was Claire and him at some charity event. Her blonde hair and bright smile, nothing like Lily's darker features. He stared at it, then at Lily. "You're not her," he said, his voice breaking. "Claire is dead and you're not her. How long were you planning to keep lying to me?" "Christopher, please let me explain." "Explain what?" His voice rose, anger flooding in to replace the shock. "Explain how you married me while I was in a coma. Explain how you've been pretending to be my fiancé for months. Explain how you've been lying to my face every single day." Tears streamed down Lily's face. "It wasn't like that. You didn't want what? The money? Because that's what this is about, isn't it?" He laughed bitterly. "God, I'm such an idiot. Everyone tried to warn me. Ryan said something was off. But I defended you. I actually defended you. Your mother came to me," Lily said desperately, "after the accident. She told me about your grandfather's will, about how Daniel would take everything if you weren't married. I was grieving Claire, I wasn't thinking straight, so you saw an opportunity and took it." Christopher cut her off. "My fiancé dies and you just slide into her place. That's sick. That's actually sick. That's not fair." Lily's voice cracked. "I didn't want any of this. I lost my sister. Do you think I wanted to marry a stranger while planning her funeral? Then why did you?" Christopher demanded. "Because my mother is dying," Lily shouted back. "Because we're drowning in medical bills and I work 2 jobs and it's still not enough. Because your mother offered to help us and I was desperate and scared and I thought I was doing the right thing." The silence that followed was deafening. Christopher stared at her and Lily could see the betrayal written all over his face. "Get out," he said quietly. "What?" "Get out of this room. Get out of my house. I want a divorce." "I want you gone." Lily nodded, unable to speak past the sob in her throat. She turned and walked out, each step feeling like it might be her last. She packed quickly, throwing clothes into a bag with shaking hands. Amber tried to stop her in the hallway, but Lily couldn't look at anyone. She'd known this was coming. She'd known it would end like this, but knowing didn't make it hurt any less. She was almost to her car when Helen caught up with her. "Lily, wait. Give him time to process. He wants me gone," Lily said. "And he's right." "I lied to him. Every day I lied to his face. Why would he want me around?" "Because despite everything, what happened between you two was real," Helen said. "I saw it. Amber saw it. Even Ryan started to see it. It doesn't matter. It was built on lies." Lily got in her car and drove away before Helen could say anything else. She went back to her tiny apartment, the one she'd kept paying rent on even while living at the mansion. She called her mother, tried to explain without breaking down completely, and then she cried until there were no tears left. 2 days later, Ryan showed up at her door. "He sent you to make sure I signed divorce papers?" Lily asked, not letting him in. "Actually, I came to apologize," Ryan said. "I was wrong about you. Christopher found your journal, the one you kept during his coma." Lily's stomach dropped. She'd forgotten about that notebook left behind in the chaos of leaving. "He read everything you wrote," Ryan continued. "About Claire, about your guilt, about how hard it was to lie to him, about how you fell in love with him even though you knew it was impossible." "Please stop," Lily whispered. "He also found out the full extent of what Daniel has been doing, embezzling from company funds, falsifying documents. Your notes about the business discrepancies led us to evidence that Daniel's been stealing for years." "That's good," Lily said numbly. "You can stop him now." "We need your help," Ryan said. Daniel's lawyers produced a forged document claiming Christopher planned to sell the company before the accident. They're saying Christopher was incompetent, that the accident just revealed what was already there. "We go to court in 3 days and we need you to testify." "Christopher doesn't want to see me." "Christopher is hurt and angry and confused," Ryan said, "but he's also scared. Daniel is coming for everything and we need all the help we can get. You know Christopher better than anyone after these months. You know what he values, what he believes in. Your testimony could make the difference." Lily wanted to say no, wanted to protect herself from more pain. But she thought about Christopher losing everything his grandfather built, about those employees who would lose their jobs, about the kids at the youth center who would lose their programs. "Okay," she said. "I'll testify." The courtroom was intimidating. Daniel's lawyers were sharp and aggressive, painting Christopher as reckless and unstable. They presented the forged document with confidence, and for a while it looked like they might actually win. Then it was Lily's turn to testify. "Miss Parker," Daniel's lawyer said with a sneer, "or should I say Mrs. Bennett? Though I suppose that won't last much longer." "Objection," Christopher's lawyer said. "Relevance. I'm establishing the witness's credibility," Daniel's lawyer replied. "Miss Parker, isn't it true that you married Mr. Bennett while he was unconscious specifically to access his wealth?" "No," Lily said clearly. "I married him to protect his inheritance from being stolen by people who would destroy everything he built. You expect us to believe you had no financial motivation?" "I had financial motivation," Lily admitted. "My mother needed medical care I couldn't afford. But that's not why I stayed. I stayed because I learned who Christopher really is. I read his journals. I studied his business. I sat in meetings and learned what mattered to him." She turned to look directly at the judge. "Christopher Bennett cares about people. Every business decision he makes considers the human impact. He funds scholarships for kids who remind him of his younger self. He mentors teenagers who need guidance. He could make more profit if he cut those programs, but he never would because they matter more to him than money." "That's a nice speech," Daniel's lawyer said. "But you're a woman with no business experience making claims about a man you barely know." "I know him better than you do," Lily said firmly. "The document you're presenting says Christopher wanted to sell to a company that would lay off half the workforce and eliminate community programs. Christopher would never do that. It goes against everything he believes in. People change. Maybe you didn't know him as well as you thought. I know he visits the youth center every Saturday morning when he's in town. I know he remembers the names of every security guard in his buildings. I know he sets aside 30% of profits for employee benefits and community investment, even when board members tell him that's too much." Lily's voice grew stronger. "I know he keeps a photo of his grandfather in his office, not because of the inheritance, but because his grandfather taught him that wealth means nothing if you're not using it to help others." She looked at Christopher, who was staring at her with an unreadable expression. "Christopher Bennett is not incompetent. He's not reckless. He's a man who was hurt by a terrible accident and is fighting to recover. And this document is a lie designed to steal from him by someone who has never understood what his company is really about." The testimony went on for hours. Christopher's lawyers presented evidence of Daniel's embezzlement. Other witnesses spoke about Christopher's character and business acumen. But it was Lily's testimony that seemed to turn the tide. When it was over, the judge ruled in Christopher's favor. Daniel's lawsuit was dismissed, and there was enough evidence to pursue criminal charges against him for fraud and embezzlement. Lily left the courthouse quickly, not wanting to face Christopher. She'd done what she came to do. Now she could disappear from his life for good. She was halfway down the courthouse steps when she heard her name. Lily, wait. She turned to find Christopher pushing through the crowd, still looking weak but determined. He stopped in front of her, breathing hard from the effort. "Why did you do that?" he asked. "After everything. After how I treated you, why did you help me?" Lily wiped her eyes. "Because you didn't deserve to lose everything. Because your grandfather's legacy matters. Because those kids at the youth center need you." "That's not what I asked," Christopher said softly. "Why did you help me?" Lily met his eyes and decided she had nothing left to lose. "Because I love you. Not the man I thought you were. Not the person in the newspaper articles. The real you. The one who writes in journals about his fears and dreams. The one who's kind to everyone even when he's in pain. The one who deserves better than what happened to him." Christopher stood there, emotions playing across his face. "I read your journal," he finally said. "Every word. About Claire, about your guilt, about everything you felt." "I'm sorry," Lily whispered. "For all of it." "I was so angry," Christopher said. "I felt betrayed and used. But then I read what you wrote and I realized something. You knew me. Better than Claire ever did. Better than I knew myself sometimes. It doesn't change what I did." "No," he agreed. "But it changes what it means." He stepped closer. "I don't know if I can forgive you right away. I don't know how we move forward from this. But I don't want you to disappear from my life." Lily's heart cracked open with hope and fear. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying give me time. Let me process this. But don't leave." "Not yet." He reached for her hand hesitantly. "Please." Lily looked at their joined hands and nodded, not trusting herself to speak. They stood on those courthouse steps, two broken people trying to figure out if something real could grow from the ruins of lies and loss. And for the first time in months, Lily let herself believe that maybe, just maybe, there was still hope. The weeks after the trial were strange and uncertain. Christopher asked Lily not to leave, but he didn't ask her to come back to the mansion either. They existed in this weird in-between space, not together but not apart. Lily moved in with her mother for a while. The medical bills were paid off thanks to the original agreement with the Bennett family, and her mom was finally getting the treatment she needed. It felt good to be home, to take care of someone who actually wanted her there. Christopher texted sometimes. Simple things. "How's your mom?" Or "Thought you'd like this article about education reform." Nothing deep, nothing that addressed the massive elephant between them. But he was reaching out, and that meant something. Ryan called her one afternoon. "He's miserable," he said without preamble. "Ryan, I'm not asking you to do anything. I'm just telling you. He won't admit it, but he's lost without you. He goes to the office, comes home, sits in that house alone. Amber tried to get him to go out, but he just says he's tired. He needs time to figure out what he wants," Lily said quietly. "I think he already knows. He's just scared." Ryan paused. "For what it's worth, I was wrong about you. You're good for him. Better than anyone I've ever seen him with." After they hung up, Lily sat staring at her phone. She wanted to call Christopher to tell him she missed him, but she'd already pushed enough. If he wanted her, he had to choose it himself. 3 weeks after the courthouse, Lily got a job at a local community center teaching kids after school. It wasn't much money, but it was what she'd always wanted to do. Working with the children, seeing them learn and grow, reminded her that she had value beyond being useful to someone else. One of her students was a quiet boy named Tyler, who struggled with reading. Lily worked with him patiently, celebrating every small victory. One day he read an entire page without help and his face lit up with pride. "I did it," he said. "Miss Lily, did you see? I really did it." "You did," Lily said, her heart full. "I'm so proud of you." That evening she got a text from Christopher. "Can we meet?" "I want to talk." They agreed to meet at a small coffee shop, neutral territory. Lily's hands shook as she drove there. She didn't know what to expect. Christopher was already there when she arrived, sitting at a corner table. He looked better than he had at the courthouse, healthier, but there was something tired around his eyes. "Hi," she said, sliding into the seat across from him. "Hi." He smiled, but it was uncertain. "Thanks for coming." Of course, they ordered coffee, making small talk about nothing important. Finally, Christopher set down his cup and looked at her directly. "I've been thinking a lot," he said. "About everything. About Claire, about the accident, about us." Lily's heart hammered in her chest, but she stayed quiet, letting him speak. "I was in love with an idea," Christopher continued. "When I was with Claire, I loved how we looked together, how everyone said we were perfect. But I never really knew her. Not the way I should have." He ran his hand through his hair. "I read her texts after I got my phone back. She talked about wedding venues and honeymoon destinations, but we never talked about real things. Our fears, our dreams, what we actually wanted from life." "She loved you," Lily said softly. "Maybe she loved the life I could give her," Christopher said. "I'm not saying that to be cruel. I'm saying it because I finally understand the difference. With you, even when I thought you were her, something was different. You listened when I talked about the youth center. You asked questions about why things mattered to me, not just what they cost." Lily felt tears threatening. "Christopher, let me finish," he said gently. "I was so angry when I found out the truth. I felt like everything between us was fake. But then I read your journal, and I realized you were dealing with more guilt than I could imagine. You didn't want to lie to me. It was killing you." "It was," Lily whispered. "Every day, I know. And I know my mother put you in an impossible position. You were grieving your sister and desperate to help your mom, and we took advantage of that." He reached across the table, stopping just short of touching her hand. "I'm sorry for how I reacted, for throwing you out without listening. You had every right to be angry. Maybe. But I should have let you explain." He took a breath. "The thing is, Lily, what I felt when I woke up, what I felt talking to you and spending time with you, that was real. Those feelings didn't come from thinking you were someone else. They came from who you actually are." Lily's vision blurred with tears. "I don't understand what you're saying." "I'm saying I want to start over," Christopher said. "Not as husband and wife pretending to be something we're not. As two people who actually want to know each other. I want to take you on real dates. I want to hear about your day. I want to meet your mom properly, not as part of some arrangement. You want to date me?" Lily could hardly believe what she was hearing. "If you'll let me," Christopher said.
"I know I hurt you."
"I know this whole situation has been a disaster, but somewhere in that disaster I found something real, and I don't want to lose it because I'm too stubborn to see what's right in front of me." Lily wiped her eyes. "I fell in love with you," she admitted. "Not the rich businessman, not the person I was supposed to pretend you were. The real you, the one who writes about wanting to do more good in the world. The one who's kind even when nobody's watching." "Then let's figure this out," Christopher said, slowly, honestly. "No more lies, no more pretending. Just us." Lily nodded, finally letting him take her hand. "Okay, let's start over," and they did. Christopher picked her up for their first real date the following Saturday. They went to a small restaurant, nothing fancy, and talked for hours about everything. Their childhoods, their fears, their dreams. Christopher asked about her teaching job, and Lily told him about Tyler's breakthrough with reading. "You light up when you talk about those kids," Christopher observed. "It's what I always wanted to do," Lily said. "I just never thought it was possible." "It's possible," Christopher said firmly. "And you're amazing at it." They dated for 3 months before Christopher brought up the marriage. They were walking through the park near the youth center when he stopped. "Technically, we're still married," he said. Lily's stomach dropped. "Do you want to file for divorce?" "Actually, I was thinking the opposite." He turned to face her. "I was thinking about how we got married wrong the first time. Wrong reasons, wrong circumstances. But maybe we could do it right." "Christopher, not now," he said quickly. "I'm not proposing, not yet. I'm just saying that when we're ready, when we both know this is what we want, maybe we don't get divorced. Maybe we just have a real wedding. One where we both say yes because we choose each other." Lily felt hope bloom in her chest. "I'd like that." 6 months later, they stood in a small chapel with just family and close friends. No media, no spectacle, just the people who mattered. Helen cried happy tears. Amber was the maid of honor. Ryan stood beside Christopher, finally smiling at Lily like she belonged. Before the ceremony, Lily visited Claire's grave. She placed flowers there and whispered, "I hope you'd understand. I hope you'd be happy for us. I'll never forget you." When Christopher took her hand at the altar, it felt different from that hospital room ceremony. This time they were both present. Both choosing this, both ready. "I, Christopher, take you, Lily," he said, his voice strong and sure. Not because of obligation or circumstance, but because you're the person I want beside me. In honesty and struggle and joy, this time I choose you knowing exactly who you are, and I'm grateful every day that you're here. Lily's voice shook with emotion as she said her vows. I, Lily, take you, Christopher. I promise to always be honest with you, even when it's hard, to support your dreams and share mine, to love you not for what you can give me, but for who you are. This time I'm saying yes because I choose you, freely and completely. When they kissed, it felt like a beginning instead of an ending. At the small reception, Lily watched Christopher talking with Tyler and some of the other kids from her program. He'd donated to expand the after-school tutoring, and the children adored him. This was who he really was, she thought. Not the headlines or the money, but this kind, genuine man who cared about making a difference. Happy? Amber asked, appearing beside her. Terrified, Lily admitted. But yes, happy. Good, because you're stuck with us now. Amber hugged her. Welcome to the family. For real this time. Later that night, Christopher and Lily stood on the balcony of their hotel room looking at the city lights. Do you ever regret it? Lily asked quietly. How we started. Christopher pulled her close. I regret the pain. I regret that we lost Claire. But I don't regret where we ended up. Sometimes the worst circumstances lead us to exactly where we're supposed to be. That's very philosophical for a businessman, Lily teased. I learned it from my wife, he said, kissing her forehead. She's taught me a lot about what really matters. They stood there together, two people who'd found love in the most unexpected way. Their story hadn't been perfect. It had been messy and painful and complicated, but it had been real. And sometimes, Lily thought, real is better than perfect. Sometimes the forced yes becomes the choice you'd make every single time. Sometimes you have to lose yourself to find what you were really looking for. Sometimes love doesn't arrive the way you expect it, but that doesn't make it any less true. As Christopher held her close under the stars, Lily finally let go of the guilt she'd carried for so long. Claire was gone, and that would always hurt. But Claire would have wanted her sister to be happy. And for the first time in a long time, Lily truly was. This was their real beginning. Their honest beginning, and it was just the start of their story together.